From the Middle is proud to be a founding member of Odd Pods Media. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 215. Did I get that right, Dylan? 215, 215. We're going with it right now. From the Middle, Kory is out of town, and he's in an airplane flying, and I'm sure we're going to have some wonderful stories from him. He is an excellent storyteller. But in the meantime, Dillon and I talk about how old we're getting and what that means. What is age? Is it just a number? Is 30 the new 40 or is 40 the new 25? What is it? We're going to be talking about that. Kendall got some free breakfast. We talk about servers versus waiters and a certain quirk. And we talk about Dillon hitting it hard at 3 p.m. And then after the break, we got a lot of streaming, including remote drop moments. Find out what that is. And then we talk about what we're actually watching. It'll be a good one. It's a fun one. We hang out, and then we're going to see you again next week. And enjoy the hour.
Oh, for the love.
Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral, and you're so developed and evolved.
Kendall, you're a year
Yes,
older.
sir.
You're a year older today.
I am. I'm a year older than
And
I
it's-
was. It is the anniversary of my first travel through a canal.
Yeah. What? Never mind. And in celebration, Kory was so excited he couldn't even make it.
That's
Uh,
right.
Is this
Means a
one of
lot
the-
to me?
Yeah, it's just one of those where like, hey, so sorry you couldn't make it. Was something going on? He'll be like, oh yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I just didn't want to. I think no. Kory's traveling.
Again.
He's traveling again. He's on I think on an airplane as we speak.
Yeah.
So he couldn't make it. So that means I get to celebrate you all to myself this week
Ooh.
and live on the podcast. We were just talking about, I can't remember the direction this saying ever goes, like 30 is the new 40 or 40 is the new 50, or is it 30 is the new 50.
Yeah. Do you want it to sound, is it supposed to sound like a good thing?
It's supposed to sound like a good thing. Like, even though you're almost whatever, 40 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's actually younger than what it
Right.
seems based on generations ago. Is that
So if you're telling, so I'm 39 right now.
right?
I'll be 40 next year. And that's where, if you wanted to make me feel better about my age,
I do. Yeah.
you could tell me 40 is the new 30.
40 is the new 30.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Because
40 is the new 30.
there's a lot of things that pull me out of like a movie, as an example, or a TV show. Like, do you remember when Glee came on and then people would say things like, these actors are in their late 30s? And you're like, ah. Like, no, they're supposed to be like 15.
I know. Oh
And
my gosh.
Somebody did that one the other day with, what was it? If you think about Father of the Bride, how Steve Martin and Diane Keaton, how they're supposed to be like 40 something in that movie, and they both look like they dress from like Land's End, and they both have white hair.
Yeah.
And so they're supposed to look like they're in our 40s. And I'm like, I mean, I'm not far off from where they were in that movie. And I just wear homage t-shirts and athletic shorts all the time. And I don't look, it's just bizarre when people kind of frame things for you in a way that makes you rethink. Like, it's just, that's one of those bizarre ones. You don't seem 39. So 40 is the new 30.
I don't know what 39 is supposed to seem like. I was having this conversation with
I do
one of my kids today.
in so much as it's not you. You're too young feeling.
Yeah.
You're not it.
Okay. I forget the context, but today I was having a conversation with my kids by a lot like how a lot of adults don't enjoy getting older, and it's not fun and exciting like it was when you're a kid, because when you're a kid, getting older often means you're one step closer to some cool stuff,
You
right?
unlocked new abilities.
Yes, you unlock new abilities, and then after
Mm.
you're like 21, unless you're trying to like run for president at 35, like there's no more unlocking to do, so the excitement is gone. Now you're just getting older.
Yeah. Yeah,
um
like I remember one of those things I remember that was felt like unlocking a new ability was being in college, and we had an apartment at the time, and a buddy of mine, we were up playing video games really late, and we didn't have to work the next day, either of us, on like a weekday, because we still have weird schedules, right?
right.
We didn't have school, we didn't have work, and we're like, let's go get ice cream. And so we went to the grocery store at like 2 a.m. and bought like a pound cake and ice cream and chips, because like we wanted it. We were hungry.
Nobody can tell you not to.
That felt like, this is why I wanted to get older. That felt like
Yeah.
one of those moments where you're like, this
Right.
this is what you imagined as a kid being able to do.
Yeah.
And then you get your 30s and you need a nap every day and your back hurts more than you expect it to. And you're like, this wasn't it. This was not what I had in mind.
Yeah. One of the ones that you were talking about, sort of like age relativity to people that you're seeing in media, and one of the ones that always gets me is professional athletes.
Mhm.
And I still can't wrap my head around like watching NFL and knowing that I'm older than most of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Like that does not compute for me. Like to me, like I'm still a little kid watching grown-ups play football. Like that's still what it is in my head.
Yeah. And not to mention the age of it, but then there's also just purely on appearance. Like, I am far closer in appearance to, or I'm not in appearance, excuse me, in age. I'm far closer in age to somebody like Tom Brady than I am to people playing at Ohio State.
Yeah.
But that doesn't feel right. It doesn't
Right.
feel, it doesn't, something, he looks like, he's like McSteamy off of Grey's Anatomy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the perfect hair and like super whatever. And then I look far more like a 23-year-old like college student who's already decided to let himself go in life, right?
Sure.
And so just, it's, that is a whole other thing when you start looking at ages and how some people are more active, some people have been blessed with really good looks, and so they might look really young, they might look really put together. It's easy for them to find clothes that fit and a style that works for them, and all of those can drastically change their outside appearance. Now obviously that doesn't mean that they're mentally mature or wise or whatever, but
Yeah.
it feels weird that I'm like closer in age to Tom Brady than to college students that play at Ohio State. That feels wrong, but
yeah.
I know that it's accurate.
It is weird. But here's my question for you: is like, does it feel bad? Like, do you share the I don't want people to know how old I am kind of thing because you're ashamed of it? Do you want people to think you're young? Like, does it bother you that you're closer in age to Tom Brady than to others?
I mean, I'm not really one to like, I'm mostly ambivalent. I'm not one that like really is going to be upset and be like, darn it, I wish I would have done things differently. That's just
Right.
not the kind of person that I usually am. But it's hard to not use him as an example and go, if I would have just decided to jog a little bit every now and then, maybe I would have, gotten some kind of pro contract for some sport. If I had tried a little harder at youth sports, maybe I would have been someone different. It's not true. I wouldn't have. My dad is shaking his head. Sorry, you didn't get the genes for that, as he listens. But
probably I have that thought with growing up, like I was the only one. Eventually, we had another friend who kind of joined the circle who also had a pool table growing up, but like I was the only one of my friends who had a pool table growing up, a full size one in the basement. And I remember at one point watching professional pool players playing for like $1 million for a championship, and I'm like, I literally had every tool I needed to be one of them, and I just didn't do it. It was it's just that simple.
Just wasn't an interest. Yeah, I totally like. I would have been at a younger age, especially in high school. I was far closer to becoming a professional gamer than I was a professional at literally any sport.
Yeah.
So yeah, only that much do I care. I don't really care, but only that much do I care.
Yeah, but not like for like Tom Brady specifically, but more or less just the thought of I'm getting older. In other words, are you one of those people who doesn't want others to know your age?
I don't really care. No,
I don't either, because I've never understood that. I've never understood like why age has to be a secret.
Yeah, I think the thing that for me it makes age feel really meaningless. There's a few things. First of all, I think we know now pretty firmly your genetics has far more to do with how long you'll probably live, the duration of which you'll live your life. We've seen people who smoke and eat bacon every day live till their 90s, and then super healthy people that die at 40 because that's their genetics and that's whatever.
Yeah.
It's not all that. Certainly there's a lot of personal things people, but you know what I mean? Like genetics plays a part. How people act plays a part. I talk about superheroes and video games and Lego as if I'm, 17. So like that factors into my people's perception of me.
Sure.
I don't wear a suit ever. That factors into people's perception of me. So like there's all these things that factor into people's perception that they're going to go, you seem, you're not talking about your Roth IRA and wearing a business suit and reading the New York Times. You seem like you're younger. And so, that's probably all they're thinking about. I think that kind of stuff, especially now, because there's no like, it doesn't feel like the 50s where like every guy got up to work and wore a suit every day, and everyone kind of wore the same thing and everyone kind of did the same thing. And, we aren't as diverse. There wasn't as diverse hobbies. You couldn't be an older guy who went out in public and read Superman comics, right? That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So you couldn't have been into Lego, as an adult then. So I don't know. It feels like there's all this other stuff that factors in that just makes it the number not matter to me.
Sure.
So you were saying you were talking to your kids though. I interrupted you before. You were starting.
No, did you? No, that was just that. It was I was talking to them about how a lot of adults don't like people to know how old they are. And part of my point with them was twofold. It was I think that that's a silly way to think. And so I don't think that way. I don't care if people know how old I am. But I also want them to be respectful of people who think that way. And so like in the same breath, I need to also tell them, but don't ask people about their age. Like, so yeah, it was fun. But hey, you know what? That conversation happened in the parking lot on our way out of Scrambler Marie's, a breakfast joint around here. For people who know me very well know that breakfast is by far my favorite meal to go out to eat for. And Scrambler Marie's is one of my favorite chains to go do that. I feel like Bob Evans has fallen off the map for me. Like they used to be awesome. They're not anymore. And Scrambler Marie's has kind of like taken that spot in my world. And went there because you know what the problem with ordering a waffle at a breakfast joint is? You get exactly one waffle, you get nothing else with that waffle, and it costs the same as getting like a whole stack of pancakes, right? And I think the thought there is one waffle equals a stack of pancakes, and one waffle does not equal a stack of pancakes.
No.
It's probably about 2 waffles.
I was going to say, what is your waffle to pancake conversion?
I would say for most places, like a full stack of pancakes would equal 2 waffles.
You
That's
would
what
call
I would
that
guess.
4. You're thinking most places a stack equals 4 pancakes, which equals 2 waffles.
Yes, that's what I would guess. But Scrambler fixes that problem because their entire what they call the griddle section of their menu is bottomless. So bottomless pancakes and French toast is even on the signage, it says bottomless pancakes and French toast. But on the menu, it's labeled as all of our griddle items are bottomless. That includes the waffle. So I got 2 waffles.
Beautiful.
And 2 strips of bacon, 3 cups of coffee.
I was going to say, much like pancakes, I think waffles should also always come with a side of meat.
Yes.
I think they have to, but so it feels like far
most
too often
don't. They just do.
Yeah.
Yeah, most don't. Scrambler gives you a side with your waffle. And then when we first showed up, the server asked us anyway, I heard a thing today, like people don't use the term waiter anymore because apparently it's not correct to do so. But I heard a joke today that was like, if I'm waiting, like I'm waiting for the server to come show up. Doesn't that make me the waiter? Anyway, so server is a better term than waiter for that reason, at least. Just makes more logical sense.
Yeah.
The customer is the waiter.
I don't buy the woke thing that there's actually enough people that care about that. Yeah. But I like the flip on the logic of I'm the waiter, you're the waitee.
Yeah, you're the server.
You're the server.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Asked us if we had anything going on that day. And Isaac had said that it was my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And so then at the end of the meal, my meal was comped. So I had not only 2 waffles, 2 free waffles.
With a side of meat.
Side of meat, yeah. Wonderful.
Speaking of birthdays, Kory's is coming up very soon. We'll let you, once he comes back, we'll let him fill you in on anything elaborate he might have done or will have planned for his birthday. I won't say what age he'll be. I'll let him decide if that's important to you. Speaking of restaurants, we went out to eat today, and I have something a question. Not a very important one, but I do think it relates enough to something we've talked about before. When I was in Tampa, we went to a restaurant where the server, we had a good number of people at the table. The server didn't want to write anything down. They were just taking the mental order with all the customization. And we talked about that's very low reward, very high risk of a choice to make as a server to just not write things down. Because at best, you get it all right and people maybe remember. And if they do remember, they go, oh, wow, she didn't write anything down. And at worst, you annoy people because you got the order wrong and multiple orders wrong. So,
or you killed somebody with allergies.
You killed somebody with allergies. I didn't even go to the actual worst.
There you go.
But that's it. So similar today experience, we went out to eat and not the exact same thing. It wasn't not writing things down. It was, I don't know if this was a personality quirk or an attempt at dialed up service, but our server was basically not our waiter. Our server was basically finishing our sentence, not really rapidly, but like, you know, she'd come over to the table and say, "Did you guys need anything else?" And we'd say, "Yeah, if we could get some more chips and another," and she'd go, "Diet Pepsi," like that, like I'm okay. So she's kind of like jumping ahead of us a little bit. I never got the sense that she did it out of annoyance or out of like trying to rush us along. Mm-hmm. But it felt like this little attempt at it felt like this little attempt at trying to like
Try to impress.
Yeah, I'm gonna impress you. I got this little skit.
I want to show you how on top of things I am.
Yeah. So my ask, one of those stops, I had my drink for my soda, my diet, whatever, and it was half full of ice, now empty other than the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of cut me off and started to pull away from the table after she knew I wanted a soda. And I said, but no more ice. So like, don't take my cup away and then top it off with ice and then put soda in. I don't want any more ice. So I said, but no more ice. What's there is good. And she kind of nodded quick and left. So then she comes back with my drink and she's dumped out all the ice and just filled it now with warm Diet Pepsi. So this felt like, as I was sitting there looking at my drink now with no ice, I'm thinking we're right back to Tampa, and there's very little. I'm like, if this is some kind of personality quirk or something, fine. Where it's like an uncontrollable like need to like jump in and finish somebody's sentences. I guess it is what it is. But I didn't get that sense at any point until we were making a request or ordering something. So I'm like, this feels like a situation where this is meant to be like a little customer service thing. And this has very low upside or very little upside and a whole lot of downside. Now, the only downside we experienced was my drink, but I was kind of annoyed because unless that drink is refrigerated, like the soda or the syrup or whatever, the machine or however it works, it's coming out at like room temperature. And now I have a room temperature soda and I wanted a cold one, just not all ice. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? Maybe it goes back to even the first part of the not writing things down, or like this. Do you think it was just probably a tick, or am I reading too far into that? This felt like a customer servicey thing. She was trying to like, ooh, let me impress you with how I know all your needs.
You know, my first inclination is that it's an effort to impress, almost like what she wants to communicate is that like, see, my service to you is so good that I can preempt what you want.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
Right. And so, but like, obviously she can't preempt what you want, but she still wants to.
Sure.
Whether she either wants to be able to do that legitimately, or she really wants you to think that she's trying to do that. And so that's I think this is all hearsay, but obviously, but I think that was her jumping ahead thing at the end of sentences. Was her trying to communicate this level of service that was so high that it's preemptive.
Yeah, that's how I felt. That's the vibe I got. Perfectly pleasant, never felt rushed. Overall, she did a good job. We actually stopped at Build-A-Bear and got my daughter a Build-A-Bear. And so we went in with our bags, and they actually had a little miniature chair that attaches to the table for like dolls and bears. So she went and got that, which was really, so at no point did we feel like rushed, like it was trying to get us out, or it never felt like a tick or something. I don't know, but in that moment, I'm like, the drink is a pretty pivotal part of the meal for most people. And now I'm kind of disappointed. She did so good. Yeah. She did so good. Otherwise, it didn't affect her tip at all. But I'm like, but now I'm kind of, for me, the drink is an important part. I can't have water with pizza. I can't have a good burger and fries without some kind of flavored drink. You know, it's like some people want a cold beer with tacos, you know, fresh tacos or what. It's like those kind of thing. I'm one of those people. I have certain drinks I like for certain situations that definitely enhance the experience for me. And so I was getting literally like a nice hot fish sandwich like a piece of fried fish. Like I definitely wanted a cold drink to go with. And now I'm sitting here with like I'm in freaking Europe with warm pop.
Pop. Which I've heard that they don't do. I don't know. We need someone from Europe to tell us whether or not they do that. I've heard that like
thing, yeah.
Maybe soda's different. I've heard from people in Germany who are like upset about the fact that Americans think they drink their beer warm. Because apparently in Germany they do not drink their beer warm.
Well, I'm not claiming anyone drinks warm beer there. I'm saying warm soda. I can imagine people would be upset about warm beer.
Yeah.
But maybe not
in any case
care about soda or pop or whatever you call it. I don't know either. One other quick food story. I thought this is just a comment, and I thought I just kind of laughed it off because I had to say it back to myself multiple times to make sure I heard it correctly. So we ordered, just worked out on yesterday, Sunday. I had eaten lunch very early, and my wife and daughter had eaten a very late breakfast. And so we didn't end up ordering lunch. We were going to order some pizza for lunch. And one of our favorite places doesn't open till 2:30. So we're kind of ordering a really late lunch for them and like a really early dinner for me at 3:00. We placed an online order for pickup at 3. And so we kind of ordered like a dinner's amount worth of food because this is going to be, like I said, like they're very hungry for lunch, and I'm like getting hungry for a very early dinner. And I don't know if you guys do this, but like we'll typically order a little bit of extra food and then let it sit out if we know we're going to be home the rest of the night, or if it's like college football game day, whatever, it's going to sit out and we're going to kind of like snack on it through the rest of the day. Or we like leftovers. So anyways, we ordered our food. Hour later, I go to pick it up, and I walk in and the girl says, "What was the last name on the order?" And I told her, and she reads back what we've ordered. And I said, "Yeah, that's right." She's like, "It'll be another 10 minutes or so." Hey man, you really like to hit it hard around 3:00, don't you? Because of my order. And I don't even know if I responded because I was so unprepared for somebody to comment on our order. I'm thinking, if any place wouldn't really think much of a big order, wouldn't it be a pizza place? It's like one of the cheapest foods like you can buy in bulk. So like, don't they get big? It's not even that big of an order. There's only 3 of us, but I'm like, yeah. And then I sit down for the next 5 minutes waiting for the food to finish and keep thinking about it, going, is that even that? It's got to just be the time. It's not even because it's a huge order, but she's just thinking you ordered a lot for 3:00, not because you ordered a lot. It was just such a bizarre comment. And I'm like, all right, maybe I do really hit it hard for 3:00.
Well, listen, I think this is my guess. And it's funny. My guess, because I don't think that somebody would in that situation say that to you because they actually think it's true.
Okay. So
I don't think they're being a jerk or trying to be a jerk.
Okay.
I think they're trying to have a laugh with you.
Okay.
If they were trying to be a joke, they would have said it to like the cooks in the back, not to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that offensive. Like, I don't think that's even an offensive thing to say. So it wasn't funny that it was offensive. It was funny that it was just bizarre. Like, is the joke that
I think the joke was that it was
a lot of food.
I think the joke was that it was a lot of food for one person. And so the joke was you're eating this all yourself at 3:00.
At 3:00 on a Sunday.
Yes. I think part of that joke that she assumed that it was true, that it wasn't just that this food wasn't just for you.
Yeah.
I think she assumed that to be true. And I think that it was probably obvious enough that she knew that she thought that you would know that she was making that assumption that it wasn't just for you.
Yeah.
So I think that was the joke, that you're ordering all of this for yourself at 3:00. You like to hit it hard at 3.
That makes sense. It's like, because I'm thinking that's not even a joke if it's college football Sunday or if it's NFL Sunday or a college football Saturday, right?
Yeah.
You don't even say that comment because it literally any time of the day, somebody could be walking in for whatever amount of food that they're going to order, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's just because it's like July and at 3:00 on a Sunday and I'm ordering, more than one pizza as one person. So, okay. I don't know. It caught me off guard and I kind of loved, I loved she just like took a jab. And then I'm like, and here I am, I'm the idiot that just doesn't totally get it, I guess. But I love that she took a jab.
This reminds me, have you seen the Key and Peele sketch where Jordan Key's character is a fat dude calling a pizza place?
No.
You know what I'm talking about? You got to look that up. It's funny. He's sitting there on the phone with the pizza place ordering multiple pizzas for himself.
Okay.
But on the phone, he's like, they're like asking questions. Did you want stuffed crust? They're like, hold on. Then he puts the phone to his chest and acts like he's talking to somebody. Hey, Gina, you want stuffed crust? Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. He's just going through the whole order doing that.
Yeah,
it's funny.
I just order for myself. I used to easily be able to go into Subway and get 2 $5 footlongs, and like that was my food for the rest of the day. It's like lunch. I'm going to eat both of these now in the next hour, and then I'm done eating till tomorrow. And that, so it's funny. Well, that feels like a perfect time to take a quick break and hear from one of our friends in Odd Pods Media Network.
Hi, I'm Tina Jaramillo.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
And we host the Muck Podcast, where we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics.
Hey, Tina, did you know that Elvis crashed the Nixon White House for the sole purpose of getting a DEA badge, and it worked?
What? Or how a gun control advocate senator out of California engaged in gun trafficking with notorious gang leader Shrimp Boy?
Shrimp Boy, I remember him. Okay, so, we cover all of that and more from maladies, madness, mischief, and murder in U.S. politics.
And we also host a bi-weekly interview segment called Lil Muck.
We interview politicians, journalists, activists, and others who share their experiences in politics.
Find the Muck Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and check us out on social media at the Muck Podcast.
Hey, this is Grabbing the Brisket Podcast. Join us every Monday where we talk about the latest trends in barbecue, interviews with world top pitmasters, celebrity cooks.
Ooh, like Wee Man from Jackass.
And musicians.
Like Rich O'Toole.
So check us out. We do beer reviews, barbecue fails.
So many fires.
Dude, a lot of people just burn their houses down for no reason.
We also talk about cocaine hippos versus Beth Gators.
Learn how to make some tailgate gravy.
Altercations with Texas Rangers.
People throwing Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah. So check out grabthebrisket.com for podcast info, viral social media posts, and so much more.
So I heard a good term, remote drop. Let me give you a little context. Somebody from Peacock, the streaming app, was interviewing Christopher Nolan. And they're talking about if you're flipping through cable or you're flipping through something and you see a show or a movie that you really want to it's remote drop worthy. Like it makes you want to drop your to like, I'm going to watch the rest of this kind of thing.
Boom, 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 boom.
Found it. Drop the
There
remote.
it is. Yeah,
Okay.
I got it.
So this person at Peacock is asking Christopher Nolan, what are your, which just, I'm sure people know, but like arguably Christopher Nolan is probably one of the top, can we say 5 right now, most popular filmmakers? I mean, Steven Spielberg is probably number 1, maybe James Cameron number 2. Can we put Christopher Nolan in there in like the top 5?
Yeah, so I'm trying to look up a list.
Top movie.
To help the people out, because obviously I know
I'm
everything
sure you
about.
know. Yeah.
So I mean, Oppenheimer right now is him. And
Yeah.
that's going on. That's huge right now. Inception, The Prestige, Interstellar, Dunkirk.
I mean, people know, and these aren't like Dumb and Dumber 2, Ace Ventura 4, the Pets, business baby, whatever that. These aren't like kids movies and comedies and stuff like,
right.
I think he did Inception and Tenet and
he's doing smart stuff.
So like Spielberg, James Cameron, Scorsese, like I get it. Top 5, top 10 though, at worst. If he's not in the top 5, and I mean right now, I don't mean of all time. I mean people making movies right now.
Sure.
Okay. So his first answer is I totally expect from him. He's like, oh, anything by Stanley Kubrick. And you're like, okay, yeah, Stanley Kubrick, I get it. And that's another one we should look off and rattle off a couple Kubrick movies. Because people know Stanley Kubrick movies, but like 2001 A Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange, Eyes Wide Shut, Full Metal Jacket, The Shining. Okay, right. So like big.
Yeah. So there's some artsy going on in there, and
yeah,
for both of them, right?
Yeah. Certainly what you'd expect another director to say. Like
artsy and thoughtful and smart and
some of the best
supporting each other, like obviously, yeah.
All of those I just listed are like top 50 films of all time, right? So like they're in there because Stanley Kubrick, right? So then the next thing he says, which I love, he just immediately jumps to without hesitation after Kubrick, Talladega Nights.
Okay.
With Will Ferrell. Yeah. Totally catches, because the Peacock guy is probably ready to discuss Kubrick, Scorsese.
He's ready to get his turtleneck on and start talking filmography.
Really classic, directors like, and he throws out Talladega Nights, and then the interaction turns kind of funny because the guy's like, wow, really? I mean, obviously you're not wrong. Like, you're right. It's hilarious. Does Will Ferrell know that it's a remote drop movie for you? And Christopher Nolan says, well, he does now, and he said, so that's just one of those that that's not that high for you. And then Nolan just goes, if you're not first, you're last, it just throws out a quote. And a part of why I love that so much is because we're so in the thick of, it's so easy to pick on superhero movies right now, right? Like it's so easy to pick on some of the stuff that the average man and the average woman watch regularly, the blockbuster movies, the stuff. And Nolan, although he has picked on superhero movies, and he did The Dark Knight. He's also picked on superhero movies. Scorsese picks on superhero movies a lot. It was just great that it wasn't this, maybe the Kubrick answer was honest, maybe it wasn't. But I just appreciate that he was willing to just jump to something that he loved that does not earn him any style points and might actually make a few actors go, ugh, I don't know if I'd want to work with, Christopher Nolan if that's one of his favorite movies. But I love the honesty of the answer. I thought it was great for all the things that we watch. And I try to watch Star Wars and Marvel, but I also try to watch some of the artsy stuff and some of the independent stuff. And I just really appreciated the heck out of the answer, Talladega Night. I don't even know that I think that's Will Ferrell's funniest movie, but I appreciate the honesty of the answer.
Me too. I do think, by the way, Talladega Nights is it's definitely one of my favorite of the Will Ferrell, even Will Ferrell style comedies, the weird slapstick stuff. It is so quotable. I love it. Some of others, like Joe Dirt, is another one that I like, that style comedy that I absolutely love. Super quotable. Maybe I just like it when you've got a redneck as the main character. Maybe that's my thing.
Well, so I spent some time thinking about the question and then where it stemmed, because Peacock or whoever has coined this remote drop. Is it what are your remote drop movies?
Yeah.
shows. And I was thinking more about that. And I think it's an incredibly simple um it's an incredibly simple idea that doesn't rely on somebody assuming that they're being asked what are the greatest films of all time.
Right.
Because I realized as I'm thinking more about the remote drop sort of term, the sort of casualness of it is it might be a remote drop movie because you really love great cinematography and that movie just had it maybe it's not a great movie but has really good cinematography, or oh, it has an excellent soundtrack, so I'll just sit and listen to it because it's got a great score or a great soundtrack created for it, and it just makes me I always love watching that show because of it. Like you could, any of the Star Trek series, when the themes come on, I'm not going to skip past that. If I'm flipping through channels, which I don't do because I don't have cable, but if I were, and any of the Star Trek shows came on right at the intro, I'm never going to change the channel on the intro with the orchestra score for any of the Star Trek shows. I'm going to sit and let that score finish, and then I'll change the channel if I don't want to watch it. But the casualness of that term, I was like, oh, you're getting people to drop their guards because you're not asking what's the greatest, most perfect film of all time. It's what do you just really like watching? And you can get a lot of enjoyment out of whatever it is you like most about it. And Christopher Nolan knows that that's not a perfect movie, but for him, he probably just laughs a lot. And so for him, it was easy to answer that. And he can't be wrong because that might be the only criteria he's thinking about when that comes on. I just know I'm going to laugh a lot for the next hour if I sit here. And it made me love the question more and more as I thought about it.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it's even possible that you just don't know why. You just know that if you come across and you see it, there's something in you that goes like, you know what? I just want to watch this.
Yeah, and there was like, and then it made me start going back, like when I did have cable, like what were the movies that I did always like if it was on, and I have to sort of remove all the really obvious, like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, whatever. But there were some like, Forrest Gump was one that I would always just, if it was on, I just wanted to watch it. That was another one with the music. I always really loved the John Williams score for that movie. Tom Hanks is awesome, but like that doesn't mean it's my favorite movie, but it definitely has remote drop. It's definitely a remote drop for me. And so, anyways, I love that question, and it made me want to start asking people that when we have like guests or when I'm talking to people not on the podcast just about movies and shows and things, like what are the movies and shows that elicit a remote drop that you'll just that it doesn't mean it's the best movie, it's whatever criteria it would be for you on your couch.
That's right. Yeah, I like it. So Ludacris should be thinking about his right now then.
You should be, yeah, hopefully.
When he comes on for his annual checkup with From the Middle.
Yeah. And if Will Ferrell hasn't heard that excerpt yet of that interview, please somebody send it to him if you know him, and make sure Will Ferrell knows that Christopher Nolan loves watching Talladega Nights, because I think that's great. I think I'd have to pick Anchorman or Elf before Talladega Nights. But
Anchorman, I forgot about Anchorman.
But his movies, his funny movies go deep, and even Blades of Glory is really funny. Another one that's not so much a comedy, but I would definitely watch is oh gosh, with Will Ferrell, it just blanked. I'm going to look it up, because if you like Will Ferrell, but you don't necessarily, but you're willing to watch him in stuff that's not always funny, it's probably my favorite movie of his, and he's really not funny in it at all. It is, he was just in Spirited. That was good.
That was good. Shrink Next Door.
Yeah. Oh yeah, did you like that?
I did like that.
Apparently he was a producer for the movie Vice. I had no idea. Daddy's Home. I gotta find this. I can't believe I'm free. Everything Must Go, I think is what it's called.
Mm.
And I don't know if we've talked about that one, but I want to get the name right before I start talking about it. Oh gosh, and he was in Barbie. There's so many. It's so easy.
I was gonna say he's made a lot of films, man.
Holmes and Watson. I forgot that he did a. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I wonder, like, Will Ferrell is just one of those generational guys who, like, I don't know. It's hard to think that there's going to be another one after him.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone before him. And there's no one really quite on his level doing his style as often as he does it.
Yeah. Also, The Other Guys with Mark Wahlberg. That was really good. Everything Must Go was from 2010. It's R-rated. It's a really simple premise. Like the beginning of his movie, his significant other kicks him out of the house, and he's just living on his front lawn with all his stuff on the front lawn. And he sort of befriends this neighborhood kid who just rides his bike around. And that's the premise of the movie. And so it sounds so simple that it's stupid, but it's legitimately like one of my favorite movies of Will Ferrell. It's so good. And he's not funny. It's a drama, not heavy drama. It's like a light drama, not really any comedy. That's not what it's about. But it's really good. Oh, geez, Step Brothers, Semi-Pro. I'm forgetting. Stranger Than Fiction was another one that was a little more serious for him. Blades of Glory and Talladega Nights came out around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, he was in The Producers, the remake of The Producers, Wedding Crashers. Yeah, of course. Where's the Meatloaf? The Witch, Kicking and Screaming. Gosh, man, he's been in so much. And I think for most people at this point, Old School, that was another huge one. I think for most people, they would think Elf for sure.
Yeah.
And then probably like Anchorman or, Step Brothers are probably, I think Old School's too old now. I think people will have kind of forgotten that he was in that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I hope somebody tells him.
Yeah, me too. I just want to point out one more thing about Will Ferrell is how impressive it is that there is there is a whole subgenre of comedy movies that exists just because he was in them. Will Ferrell movies. It means more than just the movies that Will Ferrell has made. It means a certain kind of movie, and people know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. And that's another one. I can't think of any actor who has that type of thing. Maybe Vin Diesel, Jean-Claude Van Damme, perhaps. But even them, like they're within a genre. You're talking about like within a subgenre, the ones that Vin Diesel is a part of. I feel like Will Ferrell movie, you use the name Will Ferrell movie, you know what kind of movie you're talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of other people that I would I'm not saying are the same, but I would maybe put in the discussion like Robin Williams, Jim Carrey. Those are people that if you say a Jim Carrey comedy or it's a Robin Williams type comedy, but Robin Williams had done so much other stuff that's
what I'm saying. Like there's not the sheer amount that I feel like Will Ferrell has garnered.
Yeah.
There's enough movies there to like legitimately say we need to have a subgenre here that's just called Will Ferrell movies because he's made so many of these things. So many that feel similar but are different enough that you're still going to laugh like it's the first time and you're still going to have fun. Yeah, this is saving this for another time because Kory would be sad if we talked about music in depth without him here. Bree and I were talking about artists that multiple decades, music artists for multiple decades that pretty much just everything they make keeps them in the charts. Mm-hmm.
And how many artists could you actually say have done that currently that are current artists? So like there's all the classic rock bands that have been performing for 40 years that they would be in there, but mostly pop, like the top 40s, there are probably some classic rock bands that you could throw in that are mainstream enough. But you start talking about a list of people now that are doing it or on the verge of doing it, like Adele, like Taylor Swift, like John Mayer, Justin Timberlake, people that just like they release Rihanna, they release something and it's gonna be popular.
And everybody's gonna buy it.
Everyone's gonna know it. Everyone's gonna everyone will have heard it. Everyone's will stream it at some point. It's gonna be on every party playlist, that on every streaming platform. Like who's done it, who's doing it, and who's on the verge of doing it. If Louis Capaldi hadn't had his health issues, Ed Sheeran's starting to get there. Like Louis Capaldi, would he be? What happened to Mumford and Sons? Were they too niche that they couldn't make it? Like, so it was a really interesting discussion of who did we think was already doing it, and who did we think was on the verge of doing it? And that feels kind of like the comedy thing. Like Will Ferrell has done it, for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
If he's in it, it's not necessarily everyone's not a hit. It's different than music, but like, because not everything, makes tons at the box office, but like, if it's coming out, it's coming out. Like
it's going to be profitable at least.
Yeah, and whatever. People will be talking about it a little bit because he's Will Ferrell and whatever.
Yeah.
And so we'll save the music part of that for another time. Are you streaming anything new since we're talking about?
No, as a matter of fact, I haven't even finished Tomb Raider, not Tomb Raider. Golly, Temple of Doom.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider.
I haven't even finished that yet, but I mean, with the family and kids, like American Ninja Warrior is a favorite in our house to watch, and so we've been watching that. And I don't know that we've talked really at all about American Ninja Warrior, but an interesting thing has happened with that. Talking about age again, full circle conversation here. My wife and I started watching American Ninja Warrior before kids. I think before we were even married, we were watching it.
Wow.
And this was when American Ninja Warrior was like first getting its rise and kind of was first started to show up on over the air TV and NBC, I think. Anyway, and it was always like this whole, like, at that time they were playing up this almost like a mysticism of who can be the next American Ninja Warrior. And because like at that point it had not actually been done, nobody had completed all of the steps, and and so it was kind of this whole mystique of like, who's going to be the first one to do it? Is it going to happen this season? And it wouldn't happen. And it was this whole thing. And they would have, everybody knows of the warped wall at the end of the very first course. And the warped wall tripped up everybody. Like nobody could do a warped wall. And then like just fast forward to this season now. And so many of those competing were like very young kids when Ninja Warrior first got started. So many of those competing are competing because they grew up watching American Ninja Warrior and were inspired by it. There is not a single person who cannot get up the warped wall. much less like, it's just so amazing that the times have changed that much, and that people have there's entire industries around training people how to do a Ninja Warrior course.
And you'll see some of these, like the gym versions of the courses where they train, where all the things are even slightly harder than, like the wall curves a little bit more than the real one. So like, you've seen them in video, like training on the harder one, and you're like, well, this is a breeze.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's been amazing to me. We started watching American Ninja Warrior, and man, that is one thing where the age has like, it still feels like a brand new series to me.
Wow.
And yet when they're interviewing contestants, they're like, my whole life I've been watching American Ninja Warrior, and I'm so glad that I'm finally here. I'm like, you realize this has been going on for like 5 minutes, right? Like,
Yeah. And
but
someday your kids will sit down with their kids and we'll talk about when I was young on American Ninja Warrior. We had a single warped wall, not a triple warped wall. Everyone knew how to do
they're
it.
going to be doing Sonic the Hedgehog loops by the time they're done.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's
oh boy. So that's that concludes the streaming portion for me. Is that
That's okay. Like I said, in an attempt to not exclusively watch Marvel and Star Wars and blockbuster movies, I do try to watch other things. Although I will say I just finished Secret Invasion. I can get this one out of the way quick. Meh. It was just fine. Had a bigger budget than Barbie and Oppenheimer combined. Was just okay. Lots of little issues. And so I'll say all of that to say you can skip. Secret Invasion is not the only one Marvel Disney Plus show I would say you could skip if you wanted. It's the easiest one to skip.
Okay.
And
are there not very many big implications?
Well, there is, but there isn't.
Okay.
And what's unfortunate for this one is my hopes were pretty high because of the cast and the budget and the idea that Secret Invasion had this like, oh, this is going to be the spy thriller espionage like series. This should be really engaging. I'm thinking like Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. meets Jason Bourne, James Bond.
Yeah.
Kind of, with scrolls that can shapeshift. Just to give you an idea of some of the cast, Samuel L. Jackson, Amelia Clark, who was in Game of Thrones, Don Cheadle, who plays Rhodey. You've got Ben Mendelsohn, who was Krennic in Rogue One. Olivia Colman, who played the Queen in The Crown. Tons of other folks. That's just some. Maria Hill, who plays Colby Smulders. Dermot Mulroney plays the president. I mean, lots of Martin Freeman is in it, who was Bilbo. I mean, so like big, really good MCU people and some new people. And
yeah,
it's fine. So Disney very quickly released more trailers for Ahsoka and for Loki season 2 to try to shove that under the rug.
Don't forget about us. We're sorry about this one. Don't forget about us.
Yeah. Sorry, this one blew. I don't hate it as much as the internet and the credits do. I rarely do, but it was just fine. It's only 6 episodes, so if you really wanted to just super lower your expectations and then go watch it, and it's fine.
Yeah, it's not a major investment, and that's probably appropriate.
Yeah, and that's fine. I do think
like to me.
It is now far and away the show that could benefit most from a season 2, but I doubt it'll ever get it. Because there's still plenty of room to tell more story, especially if they only did another 6 episodes.
Right.
But I'm sure now, because of the budget that they blew on it, it'll never get it. So on Hulu, I watched a movie called Once. This was actually, I'm pretty sure I was watching a show or a movie that referenced the movie Once and how good it was. So I jotted it down one time, and it's about a Irish singer-songwriter who meets a girl from somewhere else in Europe, and they become friends on his way to trying to put together a demo album.
Okay.
It's very much an independent film and feels like it the entire way through watching it, just in how it's shot and the editing and whatever. But it was nice. It was nice. They sing together. They perform together. If you really like music movies, it's sweet. It's fine. It's an hour and a half or something, and you can go check that out. And then I finally watched Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and The Next Level, the new Jumanji movies, and they're very funny. They do a really good job. I don't know. I might have to bring this up with Kory again because we were chatting about it. I have you seen the new with The Rock and
I haven't seen any of the Jumanji movies.
even the original with Robin Williams?
Well, no. I have seen that one,
Okay.
but none of the Rock or Chris Hart and Chris Hart.
So the
ones.
question maybe for Kory to chime in or other listeners another time, is it just my age or did it feel like they took the scary edge off of the Robin Williams version a bit for these to insert more jokes and make them feel a little less scary? I remember feeling like the Robin Williams Jumanji was kind of scary.
Kind of dark, yeah.
As kind of dark and kind of scary as a kid.
Yeah.
Not that I couldn't watch it, but I remember the animals, the hunter, that all felt like there was could be some big implications if the hunter got a hold of somebody.
Yeah.
And I didn't really feel that with the villains in this one. It felt like there was a lot more jokes. So I think they're good. I think they're fun. They're a lot more family friendly probably now. But I don't know if that's just me and that's my age, or if everyone else goes, yeah, no, they took a bit of the dark edge off to make them more approachable. Either way, I think they're worth watching. They're definitely fun. They're definitely fun movies.
Yeah.
But I finally got around to watching those, so that was a good time.
I wonder how much of what a movie becomes can be changed based on who they end up getting to play roles. Like, I wonder if like the Rock comes in and they're like, we want to give it a little bit of a comedy edge or something like that, and so he calls up his buddy Kevin Hart and like links him into it, and then now all of a sudden they're like, holy crap, we have Kevin Hart and The Rock, and then like at some point we're gonna throw in Jack Black on accident, right? And so now they're like, okay, let's just kind of throw away the script and let's make a Jack Black Kevin Hart Rock movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wonder if and how often and to what extent that kind of thing happens, that maybe they were trying to make a dark Jumanji for the current generation, but then it just went off the rails and they went with it.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like it's hard because so much time has passed, and so I'm trying to be fair. I could see executives going, look, Jumanji was great, but we would have made a lot more money if we had just toned it down a little bit, kind of like Temple of Doom, frankly. It's a very good parallel. If we had toned it down a little bit, a lot more people could have went and saw this movie in the 80s, and we would have made a lot more money, and a lot more people would have seen it and had been exposed to Indiana Jones. And I could see that being a very easy selling point for an executive in a studio going, if we tone it down a little, if Jack Black makes a few, penis jokes, and Kevin Hart is Kevin Hart for an hour and a half in a good way, and like constantly making like funny, sarcastic, whatever, then we can probably show a lot more people this movie and make a lot more money and make more of these. I feel like that's got to be it. It might be both. It might be my age and it might be a little bit of the edge got shaved off, but I feel like it's more the edge got shaved off than my age. The edge. I don't know. Kory can weigh in. Listeners weigh in. Let us know what you think. Kendall, you got anything else?
No, sir. Artius, man.
This has been a ton of fun. If you're listening, do a few things. Please, 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 please share these episodes with your friends and your enemies. Whatever episodes that you think that they'll like, send them a little link and their favorite podcast player. We're everywhere. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Pandora. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube. If you go to any of our social platforms and click the link, you can see the most popular places that you can find us. There's also a tip jar if you want to leave us a little cash. We just use that to upgrade the podcast. We don't pocket it for pizza. and do that. Share some episodes out. The second thing, we have an awesome sponsor in Artius Man. Head over to artiusman.com. They're out of Columbus, Ohio area. They make incredible like men's grooming, beard oil, lotions, bathroom type products, candles, tons of awesome stuff. Use the promo code The Middle. You get 25% off your first order. So like freaking load up your cart, because before you know it, you're going to be buying Christmas gifts. Put a bunch of stuff in there. Knock out your Christmas shopping, save 25% off the order, and you're going to love all the like locally made, super high quality stuff that they have over there. So that's artiusman.com, promo code The Middle. Make sure to share our episodes with friends. Listen, rate, subscribe, dingy bell, 5 stars, all of that stuff. With that, I'm done. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. This has been From the Middle.
Bye-bye.